Well, welcome everybody. I am here with the founders of AutoDive, Christopher Webb and Robert Brandis. Welcome. And guys, thank you so much for carving out the time. Excited to share the details with our investor audience of what you folks are doing, which is absolutely incredible. So I'm very familiar with oysters and the shellfish industry growing up on Long Island, and hearing what you guys are able to do with the automations of this, it's nothing short of absolutely remarkable. Chris, we'll start with you. You were the co-inventor and founder of AutoDive. Take us to the impetus of how this all started and why you started the company AutoDive. I think our investors would love to hear that.
Yeah, it started quite a while ago. I've been an avid scuba diver for all my life, and also a great environmental in the ocean activity. I've seen some incredible things, and to me, protecting the ocean is the most important thing. My hero is Jacques Cousteau, but really, I was on a scuba diving holiday with some guys and realized a lot of the people, they had trouble controlling their buoyancy. And so I thought about that. And together with my co-inventor, Andy Sinclair, we worked out a way using automation, using clever buoyancy control, using the physics of the ocean to how to control an item of any size. And that's the core of our technology. We originally developed that in Switzerland. My family is in Switzerland, and we incorporated the company in the US, and we took the business forward. And it's been an incredible journey. But we've identified oysters as the market to go for lots of reasons. And Robert's been very fundamental as a founder to help me do that.
That is really, really exciting. I love hearing about the oysters because I love oysters, right? So and I'll tell you what, the market for oysters is becoming more and more robust, where folks are trying to get access to that, right? Because they love them, and it becomes complicated with the type of fishing that they're able to do, climate conditions, the dangers of oyster farming, and how about this? Just what I'm hearing from oyster farmers in general, similar to here in Colorado, where some folks are saying, Izzy, my farm, my kids don't even want to be in the farming business. So I bet there's a bit of that as well going on. But now with this technology that I know that, Robert, you're really helping bring into the marketplace. You've sort of been the brains behind the marketing strategy, the go-to-market strategy, the biz dev side of things. Take us to a little bit of the genesis of how you got connected with Chris on
Sure.
this Denver, because I know that you yourself, as an angel investor, you plunked a check into the company for just under $1 million because you saw a major opportunity in the scalability of this. So take us to where this all started to and where you believe it can go.
Sure. Thank you. Um, I was very fortunate. I had a whole bunch of wonderful jobs. I worked for GE. I worked for Fleet Corps, and I helped take them public. So I made substantial money, and then I retired in 2016, and I wasn't going to do anything. And then through diving, my whole family dives. My oldest son's one of the top tech divers actually in the world, believe it or not. He has dove the Britannic at 400 feet, the youngest person in the world to ever do it. And I got into the environment. I grew up in California. I love all kinds of shellfish, sea fish, oysters. And I met Chris through scuba diving, through a scuba diving post. And we connected, and he started telling me about AICT, AI controlled technologies. And he had created, he and his co-inventor Andy had created a now patented uh, methodology for automated buoyancy control. It's the principle of a submarine, but it uses intelligence for the weight of the platform, the maneuverability, the type of ocean, the salinity, and figures out how to control that at any size platform automatically. And then we started working together, and we figured out that the US oyster industry, which is $8 billion worth of oysters, it's growing, it's still growing, but less than 5%, and half of it is imported from Canada and Mexico are the two biggest importers. And of course, oysters are eaten alive, right? So you can't just vacuum freeze them. It's not a lobster. It's not a shrimp. It's a live bivalve that cleans the ocean when it's growing up and maturing, and its shells are a carbon sink. So they are actually removing carbon from the ocean environment while they clean the ocean, and you don't have to feed them and you don't have to give them any antibiotics. As long as they are in a relatively stable environment with nutrients, which is most of the oceans around the world, they will grow. But it's totally manual in 90% plus of the places where they are grown today. And it's very, as you said, dangerous. It's labor intensive. It's expensive. People don't want to do it. And it's going to be increasingly difficult, especially for US farmers to compete if they don't automate. And that's what we've figured out how to do.
That is absolutely amazing. And Chris, when you came up with this idea, I love the fact that you really wanted to A, help the planet, B, help with this industry. And it really wasn't you just like, hey, I can make money with doing this, although that is important. But I love what you guys can do with the oceans and helping up clean up the oceans with scaling oyster farms and doing that much more efficiently. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how many farms, oyster farms that is, are actually available throughout the United States that could utilize a technology like this? Because I think when you say an $8 billion market and people are thinking about that worldwide, what does that look like in the United States, which I think I understand is part of your target first, and then you'll continue to scale around the globe. So can you give our investor audience some understanding around that?
5 or 6,000. Most of them are very small. But the problem we've talked about already is this ability to manage a farm because of the labor nature. It's impossible to farmers to grow their business today. Robert's done a lot of modeling on the returns a farmer can get. Return is very good for a small farmer, a medium, or a large farmer. We think the market's going to go through a transition. I've been involved in my life in a whole variety of industries, and this industry is going to go through an enormous change where we move away from the small players and the big players take over. It's going to go through a transformation. We've been approached by a major US and Canadian oyster farmer, and they've placed an order for our technology already. They've ordered 3 units. Our target market broadly would be the medium to larger farmers that want to grow, and they can't do that because it's manual. We've got a wonderful video of our customer, and the CFO has described the challenges. And it's all about labor. He can't grow. He wants to double, treble his business. He can't do it.
Yeah.
And also, given the recent events with these tariffs around the world, there's an incredible opportunity for American farmers to grab double the size of the market almost overnight. It's an incredible market. Oysters are great. They're sold by the piece. It's the only seafood that's sold by the piece. It's a premium market. What more could we have? And they're wonderful to eat.
Yes, yes, those are all really great points. Robert, how would you speak to that in relation to, let's take the smaller oyster farmer that sees that opportunity. Talk to the investing ear that would say, well, gosh, it sounds incredible, but it also sounds expensive to have a technology that can lift just about any weight out of the ocean. And you guys have figured out how to do this. Is it cost prohibitive to the small farmer to be able to own one of these systems?
Good question.
Tell me what that looks like and how you would implement that in your biz dev plan.
Okay, so let's start with the actual platform. It's 10 by 20 feet. It's an automated marine buoyancy control platform that you can put up to 8,000 pounds of whatever you want on top of it. If it's caged bags, oysters, that's about 125,000 oysters. Today, the manual surface cage that the majority of the United States uses, or bags that are floating, that's 80% of the US market. They are small. It's the same bags, but they can only have maybe 1,500 oysters. So you have 125,000. So it replaces a vast majority of small surface cage, which lets them grow more oysters in the same acreage, number one. Number two, our platform is automated, so it can go under the water and remove the growth of the oysters from on the surface where there's biofouling, there's runoff, There's crabs that attack it. There's all kinds of stuff, as you can imagine, on the surface of the water. Anytime there's a storm, the salinity drops, and it kills a significant portion of the oysters. A study just came in, and it's averaging 40% last year, which is the highest they've ever seen. Other than 2023 wasn't great either, but and it's because of the temperature changes, which is climate change, which is environment. And what happens is got these oysters growing just at the surface, and they're in 50, 60 degree water, and then the air temperature goes to 90, and they have to flip these cages about every week or 2 weeks to dry them. So they're taking an oyster breathing under the water, and they're flipping it over and forcing it to try to hibernate live, is drying out to remove the fouling and algae that has accumulated on the bags and the oysters.
Wow,
So
that
that is
seems real manual labor intensive.
it is. They actually, I mean, most of the growing cycle, right, is in the summer, up in the north, not in the south, up in Canada for sure. And they have kids from high school and college that come and put wetsuits on 200-pound rafts that only have 15 oysters. And I met some of them in Canada over the summer. Kids go, well, it pays really well. I go, is it dangerous? They go, oh yeah, we have to move away as soon as we pass it flips. We have to like push away so it doesn't hit us in the head.
Wow.
So our platform is audit. Number two, it's made of marine grade aluminum. As a result, its expected life is 20 plus years. So it can be financed. I've already spoken to several companies that finance, believe it or not, agricultural equipment. And they are all very interested in offering this to farmers. There is nothing like this that has ever been leased to a farmer. And that's why, getting back to your question, that's why even a small farmer can benefit from this if they lease the platform.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. I love that they can lease this, start leveraging what's happening in our country today and capture that market where maybe they can maintain that as well. Because why is it, in your opinion, we're importing so many oysters? Is it just that we don't have enough for the demand? What's happening?
Too expensive. It's labor. It's literally up 70 to 80% cost of goods of an oyster today, which takes 1 year to grow in warm water Gulf, 2 years on the East Coast and the West Coast, and 3 years up in Canada. Although those, as you know, those are like PEI, Prince Edward Island oysters are the top of the top. And those, I got to eat those in the summer. They were delicious. But those have to be maintained for up to 3 years, which means that they're flipping them during the growth season, and then they literally sink every one of their rafts manually and make sure that when it sinks, it doesn't land. If the oysters are upside down and you just pull the stops out of the two buoyancy units that are on every raft, it's going to go down and stick the oysters in the mud, and they'll all die in the winter. So they literally have divers that are flipping every one of these manual cages over for the hibernation of the winter. And then they go down and they put hooks on them and crane them back up to get the water out so they can start the cycle the next summer. They don't have to do any of this with our platform. The only reason they will have to go to the oysters is to actually sort them. And because as they grow, right, they're going to start filling up the bags that they're in.
Sure. Yeah.
So they take them out and they put them through these really cool, large stainless steel tubes. They're like 3 to 4 feet in diameter, and they have different size holes, and that sorts them by size. And then they put them back into bags and put the bags back into their rafts. In our case, they'll put them back onto our platform, and then they'll go down. And in the winter, with our platform, they can just be hibernating down there, and we can put legs on our platform so it won't, so to guarantee that they will sit off of the bottom, which everywhere where oysters grow, you want turbid water. You don't, they're not growing in pristine Caribbean water. They're
Yeah.
growing in water that has nutrients and stuff in it.
Sure.
But there's a lot of muck on the bottom. And so you don't want them sitting there, especially in the winter. So
Yeah.
ours will sit off of the bottom. And if they want to harvest them in the winter, which they do, they literally in Canada, this first client of ours cuts holes in the ice and then cranes up a manual platform so that they can sell oysters all year round, right? And then their average price is better. With our platform, they'll still have to cut a hole in the ice if there's ice, but they'll literally be able to push a button on their laptop and the platform will come up just high enough so they can start pulling bags out of, we could have 10 different racks. I mean, a 10 shelf rack system, which I
Sure.
could show you a picture of if you'd like. And then they can take the bags out and put new bags in. And they never have to get in the water, and they never have to pull heavy 200-pound rafts with oyster cages onto their boats, which is how they do it today.
Well, you excited me with the pictures because, everyone always says a picture's worth 1,000 words. And that's why we do these videos, because if a picture's worth 1,000 words, imagine what a video can do for an investor to really understand that. On a related point, and if you want to pull up some of those pictures, get ready to share that, go ahead and do that, or a video. Why don't you go ahead and take a moment to do that? Go ahead and share your screen and tell us what you're showing us.
Great. So as you can see here, there's a picture of two of the pages from our fourth and comprehensive patent, which is actually for the entire platform. So we have a patent that covers any type of marine form, although when we submitted this one last year, you could see little oysters are in it. So we were already very focused on oysters. And basically, it covers everything from controlling the actual platform, raising it, lowering it, keeping it at a certain height in the water column, to flipping it automatically because oysters like to be rotated in their bags, which is part of what they're doing, manually flipping these cages. We can do it automatically. So again, the oyster farmer doesn't have to go out there and have poor kids trying to kill themselves in the water. And it covers everything from the IP that it takes to be able to control a 10,000-pound platform under the water so that it doesn't accelerate up or down. It's, neutral. And it covers being able to connect to it from the shoreline. So all that you'll see, if you look at my screen, Chris has the picture of all the floating cages, which literally are thousands at many of these farms, to my picture, which just has a little red buoy, which is the communications buoy, and it also has an airline so that if, God forbid, the thing stopped working, you could just connect to that air and you could manually bring the platform up.
Mm.
We started by validating our technology with different types of platforms. We went from a tank to a pool to building what you see on this tractor trailer, which was a mussel platform, and that's it being towed out to the water. And we loaded it with 10,000 pounds total and proved that we can maintain it and move it and that it would survive. Now we have found a company called Systems Integrated, which designs marine platforms and containers and other things for the ocean, for the military. So they have phenomenal engineering teams. They have the design expertise, and they have designed what you see on this slide here. So we have not built this unit yet, but everything about it is the same technology, except this one is all marine grade aluminum, including the 4 air tanks, the 4 large ballast tanks. So the whole thing is the structure, which helps to reduce the cost and we're not using any dissimilar materials as we were with our first prototypes.
So now
And then
you're
all of the
saying
valving and everything is modular.
so what you're saying is, if I understand you, this shrinks the footprint of my oyster farm. So I don't have to have all of the space, or my capacity increases. Is that correct?
You hit it right on the nose. It can increase their production at least tenfold. And
Wow.
that's without trying to put a ton of oysters on one platform. It's tenfold more oysters.
Holy smokes, that's absolutely incredible. I mean, gosh, what do investors look for in a SaaS platform? A 10x return, right? I mean, look at
I
this. And
didn't know that. Okay.
an oyster farming, my goodness, you can help with a 10x improvement. And I have to imagine the profitability is going to go up, because what
Yeah.
does somebody get paid to jump in a wetsuit, maybe avoid a bull shark, to go down into these waters to pull up these oyster that is absolutely incredible. My mind is blown here. I'm sure investors are. Again, if you've been seeing the link come up, please go ahead and click on that to schedule some time with me so I can get you details on this. Currently, right now, you guys are looking for a couple of $1 million. And I know that, Robert, you've put in just under $1 million into the company with developing the prototypes and then the patents and everything else in the portfolio. This is really, really exciting. Tell us a little bit about, I know that recently there's some exciting news with an investment partner that is looking for as much as a $500,000 to $1 million match in what you're bringing in with investors, so they'll be the lead. So can you speak to a little bit of that?
I'm going to let Chris do that because he created the relationship. He actually moved himself and his wife to Mississippi for over a year to learn the details of the industry in the United States. He's a British citizen, lives in Switzerland, but he can work in the U.S. He's not an illegal, and he lived there and literally became part of that community. And that's how he was able to find this partner that he's going to tell you about.
My goodness, and that is dedication, because Mississippi is hot and sticky. So go ahead, Chris, explain what you did there. That is remarkable.
Yeah, it's basically I immersed myself in oysters. I was invited to join a conference. It was really an innovation conference, and to my surprise, there were something like 16 oyster farmers, and there's a few entrepreneurs like me and a few other businesses. And I was describing my technology, and they said, well, they described their problem, and that was an incredible, a light bulb moment. Through that organization and through working with the state of Mississippi, we're introduced to a state funding agency called Innovate Mississippi. And they've been recently, as part of a federal program last year and the year before, they've received something like $40 million to invest in local Mississippi businesses. And
let me just stop him right there. They already have this money. This money is not under any Doge concerns. And in fact, they recently gave us a letter that says, yes, we have up to another $1 million for you.
Wow.
So if you can raise $1.5 million, we will add another $1 million to what they already basically provided for us.
Wow, that is exciting. So they've earmarked that money for you already. Continue, Chris. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's a contract. We've got a contract with them, and their obligation is to honor that contract. They want to match an investor investment. Ideally, it can be an angel investor or a more serious family office. We've been targeting in discussions so far those family offices, particularly that like the ocean. We're very passionate about the ocean, protecting it. Everything we do, we must do. By using aluminium, we're not using plastic in any way. And by actually avoiding the need to go out, a fleet of vessels to go out and see my 5,000 or 6,000 cages here. Some farmers have got 25, 30,000 of those cages. Just imagine the sheer number of boats going out and the work involved. We avoid all that. So we're protecting the ocean. Oysters are incredible as well anyway, because they actually clean the ocean. But
Yeah. So
it's
if
a
you can
unique location to be. We build our products in Mississippi. We're working with a military contractor in Gulfport, and they just build control systems for the Navy. So we're building our algorithms into the systems they're designing for us, and it's a great relationship. We've got a development agreement, and we own all the IP.
Well, if you can help scale the ability to get more oyster farmed, more capacity, that means cleaner oceans, that means a better environment, that means all this that we've have dealt with the warming of our climate and the earth. All of that helps with oysters, and it all connects there. So my hat's off to you with what you guys are doing.
So I'd just like to add to what Chris was saying that number one, the platform can be made in America, all of it.
Love it.
So that is good. Number two, even though it involves aluminum, it is not the type of aluminum that is needed for the automobile, aircraft, or boat industry. We can use recycled aluminum, and there is an oversupply of that today. So we don't, obviously, we do not know the full impact of all of these crazy tariff things that are going on, but we are pretty confident that we will be able to, efficiently produce and scale our business, because it's basically welding aluminum, which can be done by any boat fabricator. And there's probably going to be a lot of them looking for business in the future. And they would be perfect to build our platform. And then everything that attaches to it is modular. And if a component goes out, let's say a valve, there's 4 big valves. If one of the valves fails, and they're ocean valves, then the farmer can literally go and tell the platform to just raise up that one side of the platform out of the water, and they can unbolt that valve and they can bolt in the new valve and keep going.
That is really, really exciting. And what I'd love to hear as well, Robert, if you wouldn't mind, as we start to wrap things up here, the scalability of this, because investors always want to hear about scale, right? And what that could help do in the oyster industry is absolutely remarkable. But tell us what it would look like in revenue, where maybe someone's going to want to buy your company as far as an acquisition goes. And obviously, we're not holding your feet to the fire of any number or anything, but I'm sure you've run through that quite a bit. Why don't you go ahead and give the investing ear some understanding of what that would look like at scale?
So basically, we have a business plan that we're pretty confident in. We have been operating very low cost. It's Chris, myself, who are the principal owners of the company, and then we have 3 fantastic teammates who are on our executive team, and the only thing that they have worked for are some stock options. So 3%, 2%, and because they believe so much in this, nobody's taking a salary. So we've been very low cost. And so if we can raise 2.5 million, $1.5 million from outside investors, $1 million match from Invest MS, if you want to look them up on the web, we would have enough to sustain ourselves through 2026, at which point we are very confident we would be quite profitable, because we're not building a medical device or an automobile or a helicopter or something sophisticated. It's not sophisticated, but it's intelligent, and no one has ever done it. And we will be first to market. We all go to regional conferences where we live. Some of our team lives in the Northeast, one lives in Alaska. I live in Atlanta, and we've gone to all the big oyster shows. Nobody has anything like this. And because it can be leased, again, it's going to be cost effective for even a small farm that has, let's say, only 1,000 cages today.
That is incredible. Well, I'd love to hear what that number would look like, top line revenue that you're anticipating maybe in year 5 of your business plan. And Chris, we'll go to you with some final thoughts and wrap things up here.
Yeah, we're looking to grow the business fairly quickly. We think there's a latent demand for our technology. We've already got a roller book of people that really want to come into this. They all want to see a unit. We're going to build 6 units, and 3 of those are going to be for demo sites around the US. We're looking to ramp the business up, grab something like 5% share of the market over 3 or 4 or 5 years. And we're looking at the valuation maybe around 100 million. We're looking to do around, we recognize, we're slightly more than seed. We've got a lead investor on board, a lead buyer on board, sorry, a lead customer on board. But to grab that 5% share of the market, people have told us you're talking about a valuation 50 to 100 million, and people would come in now with probably a valuation of 4 million. So they're
Wow.
looking for maybe a 10-time, 12-time return. It could be even higher. We think the uptake may be bigger, but we've been very conservative with our views on forecasts.
That is really exciting. Yeah, Robert.
And just to add to that, our platform, as I said, it's welded aluminum with modular componentry, which is not large. So the components, at least for the foreseeable future, can all be assembled and shipped from systems integrated in Mississippi, in a box, really. And then the platform can be built on regionally. So again, any boat manufacturer, any welder that has any skill can build the actual platform. And if they want to ship it, 3 of our 10 by 20 platforms fit in one standard sized shipping container.
So a very small footprint. That is really exciting to hear. Excellent. Well, final thoughts. And folks, again, if you've been watching the link come up, go ahead and click on that to get on my schedule. We can give you some more granular details about what Robert Brandis and Chris Webb are doing from AutoDive. This is an exciting, remarkable technology that can really help the oyster business and keep that business right here in the good old United States of America. I love that. Built in the United States. You're serving Americans, the small oyster farmer, helping them as well, helping the oceans. You guys are doing so much good for the planet. All of this ties into that global warming thing and all these different attributes that I know investors really want to get behind. So your final thoughts, folks, if you want to just go ahead and share, what do you want to express to an investor that you want to hear that we haven't covered? And again, before you do that, click on the link and get on my schedule, and we can hopefully get you on a call with Robert Brandis and Christopher Webb of AutoDive. But your final thoughts, guys, go ahead and share.
Why don't I go first? So basically, I'm going to refer back to our 2 backgrounds. Today, oyster farming in the United States is done on the surface with thousands of floating cages that are manually maintained. They get contaminated. They're losing up to 40% of the oysters every year, and they are an eyesore. And more communities don't want to see oyster cages. If they switch to AutoDive, all they're going to see, I don't know if you can see it, is that little red buoy that's off to my right ear side here. And they will grow more oysters, higher quality oysters, faster than they can the way they are today. And literally, instead of importing 50% oysters to the United States, the US could become an exporter of oysters, which would be phenomenal.
Wow, great point. I love that. I'm glad that you mentioned that. And Chris, behind you is really what that looks like. I don't know that necessarily qualifies as an eyesore, but those are all oyster cages behind you. But to Robert's point, man, it does make a lot of sense. There's just one red buoy there, and it's covering everything that's in your screen. That is absolutely remarkable. So your final thoughts, Chris, of what you would want an investor to hear.
Well, to add briefly to what Robert said, we've been told by farmers that are having real trouble with their surface cages, certainly around Connecticut and Rhode Island. They're basically being vowed. If a farmer wants to continue to grow oysters, they've got to grow it under the surface. But my thought is, let's look at other industries where automation has impacted. We all know them. But if you just look at agriculture, we've seen how automation has transformed agriculture. It hasn't happened in aquaculture, hasn't happened in the ocean. And we're right on the edge, that crest of the wave. And this is going to completely transform an industry, not just in the US. There are enormous opportunities around the world. So we could be a major exporter of our technology all around the world. We've recently received funding from an international group called Hatch Crest, They put 150K in our company, which is a key part of getting us to this ready state to go to market. So come and join us. This is going to be an incredible ride. We're all going to make a lot of money together.
Love it. Love it. Well, there you have it. Chris Webb, founder and the CEO, Robert Brandis of AutoDive. I am so excited about this. I'm proud to be a part of this project. Go ahead and click the link if you'd like to get more information. This looks absolutely remarkable, guys. Great job. Really looking forward to seeing you guys capitalize. Not only can you help the planet, but certainly you can help these oyster farmers with their businesses, making it more profitable and hopefully having some legacy with these guys that are having trouble bringing their family members into the business, I'm sure, because who in the world wants to be in those cold waters? But now you can help simplify that with AutoDive. Great, great job. Okay, click on the link, get on my schedule, and hopefully we can get you on a call with Chris and Rob of AutoDive. Great job. We'll see you on the next one, everyone. Thanks so much for your time, Robert, Chris. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.